Hey, good morning everyone. Hope your week's going well. Today we're going to show step by step how to install this doorknob. So we have a door that's blank, needs a doorknob. So I would first step recommend get a drill. Second step is buy this jig. It's a doorknob installing jig. What it does is it slips right over the door. I'm sorry, I already did move it, I'm sorry. It slips right over the door and allows you to have one hole drilled here for where the latch comes out and another hole drilled right here where the doorknob gets slipped through. And it makes it nice and easy. You don't really have to do much math or working. It also is fancy and comes with this adjustable back set, which can change depth depending on where you want your latch and everything like that. So, next step, install the hole saw to your drill for whatever hole you're going to drill. We're going to start with the gigantic one. So,
it comes with these bits.
Oh yeah, it comes with the bits too. So all you need is the drill and the doorknob and the door.
Your battery might be dying.
Make sure your battery has charge. So while Bia switches batteries, I'm going to switch angles of the camera so we can see the inside of the door. It's just some 2x4s with a skin on it. Alright. There we go. Okay, now that we've drilled all the way through the door frame, hopefully your door has a thicker door frame than this does, we can go ahead and switch the other hole saw bit to the smaller one, which is for the latch right here.
It's really hot.
Go ahead and change it, Bia.
Thanks.
She just burned herself trying to remove it with her hands, so it is very hot. Friction's a real thing. Make sure you get some gloves or your shirt or something.
You're gonna have to remove it. I don't have strength.
Okay. Give it to someone else to get burnt. Now we have this other hole saw that we're going to change to.
Have fun taking this puck out of here.
Yeah, that took our awesome neighbor a long time to get it out, so have fun with that. Hopefully you're not doing more than one door. Okay, so now that we've switched to the small latch hole saw, we're going to go ahead and switch to the edge of the door and use this side here. The most important thing is that it is perpendicular to this surface here. That is also the hardest thing to do. You're through. Alright, now we're done with the jig. And we can switch to checking to see if the hardware lines up. Sometimes you can put a piece of tape on the inside of this and it protects from tear out on the way through. I wish I would have remembered that. But we're going to go in here and just kind of clean up that rough edge with our fingers, trying not to get too many splinters while you're at it. Now we're going to go ahead and test the latch. Slides in through the front. And now we're going to mark where the latch goes. This is where you bust out your carpenter chisel and just use it to press in around the perimeter of the latch plate. You could also use a pen if you're going to use a router or a Dremel or something like that. Bianca prefers old school and is a trained chiseler.
I don't want to go that far.
Alright, next step. Flip the chisel around. Bust out your hammer. You're only going to go a couple taps in. It only needs to accept the plate, which is very thin, maybe an 1/8 inch thick. And so you only want to go in just a little bit. When you're going across a grain like this, it's going to be a lot harder to cut into. And so you may need to go back and tap it a few more times. Come back in with a chisel, flip it around again, angle it down a little bit so that as you tap, the angled part forces what you want away from the wood and pops it right out. It should break from cut to cut to cut if skill and luck are on your side. Don't be afraid if it looks crappy, it just needs to be functional. I mean, hey, I'm not saying yours looks crappy either. I'm just saying it doesn't need to be super perfect.
Well, you're supposed to flip the chip.
It's taking shape, just takes a little bit. Just go nice and easy, take a little bite at a time, don't get too aggressive. This is supposed to be precious work right here. If your door is short like this. All right, looking great. Now, one thing you may be concerned with is, oh no, there's some sort of plate on the back there, and it's not pressing in flush, right? But as you screw in the fasteners right where Bianca's thumb is, and at this hole over here, it will press down these flanges here and press it nice and flat into the door. So do not worry about that.
The chisel is sharp enough you can actually just use your hands.
I can't see because this giant fluffy thing's in the way.
Well, I'm not taking it off because it's cold.
Looks like our chisel is sharp enough.
That's why I'm using this one and not the other ones you gave me. It was the sharpest one.
Sharpness trumps correct size.
Oh yeah.
So now she's just really going back and cleaning the surface up. You really don't have to do this unless you super want to, but she's also increasing the depth of the channel to accommodate the latch plate just a little more, so making it deeper. Now we're going to go ahead and take off the hole saw bit, switch over to a Phillips bit, and a drill bit. Switch over to a drill bit, and then drill some pilot holes. What size drill bit is that?
I don't know. Size that doesn't cut too much based on the screw that you're using.
Sounds great. It's pretty much a dad answer. The right size one. Alright, now we're switching over to another tool, which is the driver, and we're going to take the screws, which are meant for the latch plate on the door. When you get a doorknob set, there's a bunch of different sets of screws. Make sure you get the right ones. Alright, so this is the set it comes with. It comes with long ones for the doorknob itself.
They're fine.
They're fine thread. And it comes with those two ones, which are combination coarse thread and fine thread. That is for the door frame. And then these short ones are the ones we're using right now. Also, one very, very, very important thing is when you install the latch, this has to face the exterior. This is a lockpick guard. You want it facing the right way. Some people drive these by hand.
Did I mention I hate Phillips?
I know, me too. I wish it would just be banned. Or go out of style. There you go. A little more if you can. Really lean in. Is it on 1 or 2?
I just switched to 1. Yeah, that's it.
Alright, so that's it. Now we check to make sure that we have clearance from this plate right here and the side of the door. It looks like we're going to have an issue because there's actually going to be 2 plates which are supposed to rest here. So if I can, I may have to come back and, tap this with the hammer slightly or re-drive this so it flushes, pulls this up flush. So if it doesn't suck up all the way, you may need to pop the latch off and go back and just remove a tiny bit more material. Sometimes it's just good at driving by hand because you really can't get a feel for the screw with the power tool like you can with just a screwdriver. And so maybe just best to drive them by hand if you can. That's good. Latch installed a little better.
This in. I'm joking.
Now this part is tricky and it requires a little feel. And so while you have the doorknob from the other side, you're going to push the latch in with your thumb, slip that through, and then the other 2 holes on the sides line up like that. And then the other fine thread screws go here and here. Take the interior side of the knob, line up the bolt holes, take the long fine threaded screws, and you're going to basically have to look and feel for when they thread in from the other side. It's really easy for us because, whoa, we cut a viewport. It's kind of cheating.
It's harder on this side. But usually if you go just straight in, you should be able to find it.
Then just take the old hated Phillips screwdriver and thread it in as tight as you can. And that clamps the handle set or the doorknob to the door frame and helps it stay nice and tight. Nobody likes a sloppy doorknob. Now it's probably a good time to test the functionality of the latch itself. Okay.
Make sure it's not locked.
Yeah, or lock it and make sure it does lock. Okay, good. And then if you got your keys handy and it's a keyed entry, test that as well. It is a keyed entry, I just don't have the keys handy. Now that the functionality of the lock's tested, we're going to go ahead and test the clearance of the other strike plate. It slips over the latch like that, and then you can mark exactly where it needs to start with a chisel, top and the bottom if you need to. Now, it looks like it doesn't fit, but this strike plate is actually going to be recessed into this piece of wood exactly like we did with the first plate. It looks nice and close, so on to the next step. Now you grab that strike plate, line it up with the chisel marks, and that's where it's going to go. You can also take this time to transfer the chisel marks across the top, and then mark the center points if you want to with a drill to get the holes started for the screws that will attach the strike plate.
I mark the hole after I make sure that it's deep in enough.
After you've cut out the rough depth, go ahead and come back and trim off the piece of wood that's going to be in front of the strike plate.
Well, in our case, we have siding. Most cases, if you're doing an actual door,
You won't have
it
siding.
will be, yeah, a straight up solid piece of wood.
How's the thickness look? Or depth, rather.
The depth looks fine all around.
Okay.
Just need to mark where the hole's gonna be.
Mm-hmm. So now we take the latch plate. X marks the spot. And we're going to switch over to another drill bit. Alright, so now we can see that we need to drill a hole about this deep in the piece of wood so that the latch can be locked into something. You can use whatever type of drill bit will accomplish the task. In our case, we're using a 3/4 inch Forstner bit right here. It's definitely worn, but it'll do the job. You can also use a drill bit or whatever, as long as it is a little bigger diameter than the latch itself. Not too big though. X marks the spot. We start drilling as close to perfectly perpendicular and square and everything as we can.
It is very dull.
I can tell that from the smoke coming off. You need some cutting oil? Jeez. It is burnishing the entire outside of the cut. That's fine, it'll just strengthen the frame.
When
That's
Uncle
probably
Tim
good.
sees this, he's gonna be like, "Oh no, what are they doing?"
That's good, that's probably good. Alright, now we do a depth check to make sure it's not too deep, and we'll move from there. Okay, so latch is held in place.
And it's slightly off.
Slightly off.
Well, I can just carve right here.
Oh my gosh. So in case your hole is slightly off, we've demonstrated for this video.
Yeah, it was on purpose.
You just can come back and trim the excess away with the chisel just a little bit to center it on the plate. Dang it, I knew, measure twice, cut once, I guess applies to chiseling. Three fragments.
You can also make a hole with chisel, which is what we are demonstrating.
Alright, test closed. Before we do this step, make sure this is unlocked. Don't be that person that has to cut down your door. Okay, so here we go. Go ahead and close the latch. Okay, and let go.
And you can see that it's still out a bit.
Yep.
So I'm going to have to chisel in a little bit more, about 5 millimeters.
Nice.
You should probably use tape to hold it in place instead of my thumb.
Hey, that looks really nice. Okay, so now this doesn't look like it's hanging out a large amount. This curve right here stops just shy of the plate surface, so this is nice and strong. So we're going to go ahead and go with that. Bust out the tiny drill to pre-drill the holes to attach this strike plate. Now that we have the drill that's the size it needs to be, there you go.
It still moves.
Drill bit needs to be sharp too, because ours is old and weak. Alright. Now you take the long screws that are coarse thread, hybrid, fine thread. And in this case, I'm going to use the impact driver. Okay, so in this case, we need to kind of hold the plate where it needs to go. Make sure that Oh my God, that doesn't happen. Don't lose the fasteners. We're providing all the mistakes. Courtesy. Alright. It helps to have a beautiful assistant to help you. I mean, in any case, right? Whew, man. This thing ain't going anywhere. Okay. Now, let's see if the door will close on its own. Yeah. There we go. It works.
Who is it?
You can now lock yourself away.
Ah, my eyes!
So there we have it. Second and final doorknob for the camper trailer installed. Hope it was easy to follow. All right.